My mama taught me, never stop smiling. Never do a bad show. And rule number 1, always listen to your mama. Oh, midnight. Showtime.
When the music hits you, you can't help but start tapping your toe because these musicians and Louis Prima and Keely Smith were great.
Angelina, I adore you.
Louis and Keely Live at the Sahara is really a musical play. It's very much a Star is Born story because Louis Prima was a huge music force in America. In the early 50s, rock and roll came in, and all those big bands died. But Louis Prima's motto was, "This cat's got 9 lives," and he kept reinventing himself.
Now piano, what's in that cat played with Chuck Berry? With Johnny Johnson, go out there. Now bring the plumber like a jeeba-deeba-doom-pop. Now.
He met this young 17-year-old girl in Norfolk, Virginia. Her name is Keely Smith.
She is a big fan of his. She saw him when he was at the height of his career at the Steel Pier in Atlantic City, and couldn't wait to meet him and wanted to sing for him.
I'm Dorothy Keely. My uncle said you were looking for me.
And what are you wearing?
I was at the beach. I got here as fast as I could.
You can't come on stage like that.
Yes, she can.
I've got a prom dress in the trunk of the car.
Go get it.
That's more like it.
I own every album you ever made.
Great.
You and you alone bring out the gypsy in me.
You're catching on. Whoa, 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 whoa.
He heard her voice and thought maybe he could, put something together and have her as a backup singer.
And they invented this act called The Wildest. Got a break to play 2 weeks in Vegas, but to do a series of sets that would start at 11:30 midnight and go until 5, 6 o'clock in the morning.
I look in your eyes and I'm glad you're mine.
When I'm in your arms, it's so divine.
Hear crazy music when I call your name. Baby, 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 do you feel the same?
That act proceeded to sort of explode. The acts at the time, in the 50s and 60s, the headliners that included Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., Debbie Reynolds, Tony Curtis. After those headline performers were performing, they would go and see Louis and Keely performing in this lounge. And it just sort of continued to roll from there.
I'm gonna tell the rats about you, we'll pack them in. Hey folks, this is the hippest room in Vegas, am I right?
I started writing this show with Jake Broder at a tiny 99-seat theater in Los Angeles called Sacred Fools Theater. And Taylor came and saw it. That's how he met us. He came on board, and he knew Keely and started bringing her to see the show.
She told me a lot of things that had never been published about Louis and Keely, and also about Keely and Frank Sinatra, various people, friends of theirs, people that were involved with him at the time in Las Vegas.
And he then did some expansion, and instead of it being sort of specifically a musical review, said, I think there's a particular arc.
When the end comes, I know that's just a gigolo.
I'm pregnant. Save it for the stage. Right?
I have a fellow named Anthony Crivello, who happens to be from Milwaukee. He was born and raised in Milwaukee. He came to Chicago, cut his theater teeth here, and then went to New York.
It's really kind of a privilege to portray a man like this. I mean, not only because of my background, my heritage, but also because it's the complicated character, many layers I'm still discovering. I'm not trying to do an impersonation, rather to create the essence of who this gentleman was. You're looking at language, how he spoke, certain body posturing, how he moved. Not only walked and talked, but also danced, and how he flowed, how he conducted a band. It's all those important pieces, and then, very importantly, how he worked with Keely Smith.
Anytime he can throw in a little something from Milwaukee. So we have a character coming in to his first show, and he says, "Where are you from, big guy?"
And he says to me, "Milwaukee." So then I just started improvising a line to just get him across the stage.
Milwaukee.
Oh, I like that Blatz beer.
And it became part of the script.
I've been listening to you since I was a bambino.
So Anthony Crivello is playing Louis Prima, and he is a consummate performer. He is great. He's got a great voice. He's a fantastic actor. Louis Prima was from New Orleans. He had a New Orleans accent, and Tony has completely digested that. He's great in the show.
Then I joined in matrimony with a girl who serves spumoni, and Angelina will be mine.
Forget about me.
Don't worry about me, 'cause I'll get
Be
along.
happy, my love.
Keely is another indelible character. She's got such a great voice. She had such amazing style. And Vanessa Claire Stewart, she's from New Orleans. She grew up listening to Louis and Keely. Louis Prima was a native son of New Orleans, and she loved the story. She understands Keely, and I must say, Keely saw her in Los Angeles do this role and put her seal of approval on her, which is a big deal.
Oh, black magic has me in its spell.
Oh, black magic that you weave so well.
The reason we're here is that Keely Smith said Chicago was her and Louis' #1 venue. For some reason, their music clicked with the Chicago audience.
And Keely said that when they were here, they just stayed and stayed and stayed, and people didn't ever want them to go, and she loved it.
What you're going to hear in this show is a variety of songs from the Great American Songbook, but all done in that specific Prima or Sinatra style.
Every time it rains, pennies from heaven. Don't
You know, I think that by doing a project like this just reintroduces it to new generations. I think they're going to appreciate it as well.
The music is just, whether you're young or old, it's just catchy, you know, and I think there's just magic between the two of them that hopefully we're recreating.
Yeah, when you leave this theater, you're happy. You've seen something, you've been touched, I hope, by the drama of it, but you leave going, yeah, I was really entertained, and I think that's the goal.